What happens to a tiny sparrow when the temperature drops below freezing? When snow covers the ground, water starts turning to ice, and finding food becomes much harder? How does a bird this small survive a brutal winter? And if you have sparrows visiting your backyard, there are a few things you can do that may genuinely make their winter easier. But one of the most important things isn't what you might expect. Let's uncover the hidden survival secrets of sparrows. A sparrow may look tiny, but its body is constantly working to stay warm. Birds have an incredibly high metabolism, and during cold weather, they need enough energy to maintain their body temperature. And this is why winter food becomes so important. A house sparrow naturally eats plenty of grains and seeds, including millet, milo, and sunflower seeds. So during a freezing period, a reliable food source can give visiting sparrows valuable energy. But there's something important here. Don't suddenly start feeding huge amounts, and then stop during the coldest weather. If you're going to provide supplemental food, consistency matters. During ordinary winter conditions, birds still have other food sources. But during severe snow or extreme cold, feeders can become much more valuable. So if you're caring for a flock, think of food as an energy source, not simply a treat. Now comes the question many people ask. What should I actually put out for house sparrows? Seeds and grains are important foods. Millet, milo, sunflower seeds, and other suitable birdseed can attract them. And if you're feeding a large flock, like the 50 sparrows mentioned in the comment, one small feeding spot may not be enough. Several feeding areas can reduce competition and give more birds access to food. But don't allow old food, wet food, or spoiled food to build up. Keep the feeding area clean and remove contaminated leftovers regularly. Because helping birds isn't just about giving them food. It's also about keeping that food safe. And during heavy snow, you may need to make sure food remains accessible, rather than completely buried underneath snow. Here's something many people forget about winter. Water. When everything around a bird begins freezing, finding liquid water can become difficult. And this is why a clean water source can be extremely valuable. A shallow bird bath with fresh, clean water can give birds a place to drink. It can also become an important part of their winter routine. But here's the critical part. Never add antifreeze or chemicals to stop the water from freezing. That's dangerous for birds. Instead, if freezing is a constant problem, a properly designed bird bath heater can help keep water available. Keep the water clean, change it regularly, and make sure the bath isn't too deep. Adding a few rocks can also give small birds a safer place to stand. So if you're preparing a winter backyard, don't think only about food. Think food and water. Now comes something even more fascinating. When temperatures drop, a sparrow doesn't simply stand outside in the freezing wind all night. It needs protected places to rest. Dense shrubs, evergreen vegetation, brushy areas, building cavities, and other sheltered spaces can provide protection from harsh weather. And this is where your bird box idea becomes interesting. House sparrows are known to use cavities in buildings, and they can also use nest boxes. But don't assume that simply installing 10 boxes automatically means 10 winter shelters will be used. Placement matters. Protection from wind, safe surroundings, and suitable access can all influence whether birds use a structure. And if you're building boxes specifically for winter, research the correct design for the species and local conditions before installing them, because a poorly designed box can be less useful than a natural sheltered space. Sometimes, the best thing you can provide isn't a fancy shelter. It may simply be a protected area where the birds can get out of the wind. And here's where everything comes together. Imagine your backyard in the middle of winter. Snow on the ground, freezing temperatures, and dozens of sparrows searching for food. Now imagine they have a reliable food source, fresh water, protected vegetation, safe places to perch, and sheltered areas away from harsh wind. You've created something much more valuable than a feeding station. You've created a winter-friendly habitat. And there's another important detail. Don't try to make the birds dependent on one tiny location. Birds naturally use multiple food sources. Feeders are supplemental, not their entire world. During normal conditions, they can continue searching elsewhere. But during a severe snowstorm or extreme cold snap, your food and water may become especially valuable. So the goal isn't to control where they go. It's to give them another safe option. And if you're lucky enough to have a flock visiting every morning, Consistency can make your backyard a familiar part of their environment. But there's one thing I want you to remember. You don't need to physically warm a sparrow. Don't try to bring healthy wild sparrows indoors. Don't handle them unnecessarily, and don't force them into shelters. Their bodies already have remarkable adaptations for surviving cold conditions. Your job is much simpler. Give them access to appropriate food. Keep fresh water available. Provide natural shelter from wind and weather. Keep feeding areas clean, and let the birds make their own decisions. If they want to use the shelter, they can. If they prefer another location, let them. Because the goal isn't to make the sparrows dependent on you. It's to make their environment a little safer. When winter makes everything harder, and that's the real hidden secret. Sometimes helping a wild bird means simply giving it better choices. So if you have sparrows visiting your backyard, what is winter like where you live? And what do you do to help them? Tell me in the comments. If you want a full video about the best winter foods, water setup and shelter for house sparrows, tell me below. Subscribe to Sparrow Mind 4 for more hidden sparrow science. Allah Hafiz.